So we are going to recalibrate. All right, let's come together. Just simmer in just a little bit. Let's have a moment of group unity on the count of 3. Let's all say. Oh, we haven't done a group sigh for a while. That's true. It's therapeutic. Let's all sigh together on the count of 3. And what we're going to do here is as I count up to 3, we're all going to breathe in. And then on 3 itself, we're all going to sigh together collectively. And if your sigh is one of a little bit of remorse, perhaps a little bit of wistfulness, or if it's deeply orgasmic, if your sigh is a dripping beard, whatever it might be, it's just going to all come together in one collective sigh, and we will be what is known as an audience. Here we go. Breathing in. 1, 2, 3. And out.
Was it good for you? It was good for me.
Yes. All right. So to recalibrate, going into the second round, we've got a second sacrificial poet. Please welcome the one and only Booker to the stage.
I want to get pregnant. I know what you're saying. I'm too old.
Me too.
But I'd rather think I've just begun my creamy, sticky birthday ride. What hair I've left is going to be white for an abundance of time. Particularly if I got my baby to pleasure and caring for and watching grow. Someone sweet to live with through these world-changing times, with whom I may learn about love like I've never loved before. I want to get pregnant because, don't tell anyone, the lovemaking doesn't always get better with age. And too often, love without children is a permed poodle headed by the door. And while the truth is gushing like a transformative ode, I'll cop to being intrinsically never good enough to a woman who holds my seed. So why don't we get me pregnant for once? Twice, however many times it takes. I want to remember forever that moment deep inside you when I am blessedly certain I am just now pregnant. Oh yeah, I know, I'm a man. So what? There's a computer can do 1,700 trillion equations per second. Fill the bookstore with men screaming, crazed, life-giving, ready to get pregnant. And all the women will be here too, circling. I want to get pregnant. I've done the work of the world. I'm aching to have my back hurting for a good reason once. I want that once in a history of the world feeling right between my legs. Yes. I want to stay home all day long. Can a bunch of fruit. Take an afternoon nap. Wake up, rub my belly. Think about you coming home to love me. Mama, Daddy's already pregnant. Don't worry about getting me pregnant again. There's a bowl of juicy ripe peaches in the kitchen. Let's say we go smell the stew simmering on the stove. Damn, pregnant. Only one thing scares me. I know my beautiful bubbly baby's gonna have a burdensome big head. And I don't want to watch that precious purple mucusy product of my loins ripping out my damn no. Mid-husband, take my perineum. Just please spare my whiz hole. Now get pregnant. And I found a woman. Says she's a bruja. Told me what to do. Be a long period without foul temper. A long period without concupiscence. When long night, sweet dream, acupuncture, Bach flower remedy, right livelihood, ready to get pregnant. Take this proffered bag of essences wild, mix it in a big mug of chai tea, and drink it at the poetry slam Tsunami. Then find a willing woman, older, younger, it doesn't matter. Just so long as you're the one she wants to get pregnant. I really need you to want me to have your baby. Our baby, baby. Give it all up for me, baby. I want to know everything there is to know. I want to feel everything there is to feel about having a baby. Because I want to get pregnant. And I want to get pregnant tonight.
Even the pauses are pregnant. I know.
Jorah, get Scott pregnant.
Oh, I keep trying. Trust me. I've been trying for years now. Okay. Scores for our sacrificial poet on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's pop those up and at me, please. We've got a 6.7, an 8.4, an 8.8, a 9.1, and a 10 for Booker. 23.2 after a 3.1 time penalty. All right. Does everybody feel free? What's that?
Fuck linear time. The other time penalty.
Natch.
Get a hold of it.
Thank you. Did you just say I would if I could get a hold of it?
Yep.
Hot damn, Prajna. Words from your scorekeeper. I would fuck linear time if I could get a hold of it.
Linear time is not being made.
Woman with a stopwatch. Yes. Here we go. Into second round. 5 points on deck is Rob. Please welcome Jessie back to the stage.
When asked what the hardest part of writing is, aside from word choice debacles and rhythmic flow dilemmas and the obviously crushing hopelessness of empty Word documents, I tend to jump directly to, what does my inner critic look like? As he seems to be the one in charge of the runaway boxcar that is my brain, and so I say, he's old, and I hate him. He sits at an enormous ornate desk, somewhere in the far reaches of my mind, and shakes colossal novels from behind his ears and edits them for what feels like years on end, but the kicker here is that none of them are mine. I, in all my great status as the creation behind the imagination, have no lounge chair, nor a self-aggrandizing desk, nor a marble staircase leading up to a rooftop pool and dove enclosure that my critic so fixedly never cares to share with me because I am not yet worthy of doves, apparently. How now? I sit and I write in my hammock bed in the dead of night when he knows I can't bother him with nothing but my hopes and my dreams and phone for light. Because as my mentor, a firm believer in repetition so often puts it, you will write no matter what your condition. So I write, damn it, because writing is fun. And I am not one to argue with someone I've decided might be related to Merlin, but occasionally I wonder how stable my my self-made mentor really is, and if he doesn't just have a grudge against renovation and innovation and the printing press. Though admittedly this is not a man who writes anything by hand. No. That would be too conventional. So instead, he dips the tip of his beard into an inkwell and writes a 1,000-page sonnet he will never let me see because I'm still too naive and optimistic. But occasionally, I'll catch him, looming over my shoulder like some great judgmental vulture surveying my half-finished, half-baked, still uncertain work of clay and ambition, and he'll mutter in a voice so subtle and faint, the two words I've been waiting to hear since I decided that any amount of creation is worth the pain of 1,000 try-agains, or not the ones, kid. For despite his arrogance and his stubbornness and his ability to bleed dry the very concepts of inspiration and wonder, I never feel freer than when my inner critic whispers, "You're done."
Alrighty, scores for Jessie. Let's do it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Swing them at me. I've got an 8.2, an 8.2, an 8.5, an 8.7, and an 8.8. Let her hear it. Very consistent. 25.3, solid. Oh, 25.4. Neat. All right, on deck is Brayden. Please welcome Rob back to the stage.
Oh, how we must feel for all those career scientists shaking in their white lab coats and their intelligent, comfortable shoes. Those scientists with their research, grants, tenure, and publishing. For how they must suspect that the paradigm on which they have structured their careers is about to come crashing down. For just as surely as various branches of the military have been training psychic spies since the early 1980s, and the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab has demonstrated that people can influence streams of random numbers using nothing but their minds, and as countless telepathy studies have produced results defying odds of millions to 1, we may rest assured that those scientists do not want to be told, excuse me, as it turns out, the nature of the physical universe is actually several orders of magnitude more complicated than what you've been believing all this time, and it operates on a level that is so subtle that your most sensitive laboratory instruments are completely incapable of detecting it. Sorry. Ironically, it is medical science itself that has brought us countless near-death experiences, convincingly illustrating that it is possible for sentient consciousness to exist outside of the biological body. And when we concede that, all bets are off. There can be life after death. There can be angels and other non-biological beings who work in the world. And yes, there can be an energetic field of intelligence that permeates the universe, something that you may choose to refer to as God. So the next time you see a career scientist in his white lab coat with a mechanical pencil in his pocket, be real nice to him. His or her, okay, yeah, in his or her white lab coat with a mechanical pencil in his or her pocket. Be nice to him or her. treat him or her as a person about to lose a loved one, because indeed, everything that his or her life is based on is about to go poof.
Fantastic in-moment acquiescence to the scorekeeper. Go boobs. Okay, here we go. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Scores for Rob. Up and down, please. All right. I've got a 6.5, a 7.6, a 7.9, an 8.0, and an 8.4 for Rob. Let him hear it. Right here. 23.5. It's going to be a tight one tonight. Both rounds count. Alright, on deck is Rachel. Please welcome Brayden back to the stage.
Not to be a complete bummer again, but my sister Haley used to hang out with Hannah a lot and followed her depressed footsteps down to the letter. In hopes of letting her know I care, I decided to chronicle her life. She was barely 18 when everything happened. One day as I was walking the shores of sunny Santa Cruz, California, I happened upon my sister looking more lonely than I had ever seen her by the waves. Pretty cliche. I sat down next to her without saying a word. She was sitting sparrow yellow with a half-smoked cigarette, and she pulled the sleeves up on her sweater to hide the scars she hadn't shown me yet. But Haley, you're a book that I 100 times have read. On the outside you are fucked up, but the inside you are dead. You love the forest and the beaches because you say they know you best. You say the waves lap you like wolves and the lonely birch bark forever bends. But living off the land alone will kill you in the end. You run so carefree through the nature that you forget about your friends. Our father was a dreamer, but he left us all alone. And our 14-year-old brother always comes home late and stoned. Our mother may have hit you, but look at how you've grown. You bundled up with coke and tattoos to amnesiate your home. There was a hole that was growing inside of her, and it was just waiting to be filled, but from what I've learned from life, that which makes you stronger is more likely to get you killed. College wasn't working, so she got a place in Trent. She sells her body for some money just to pay her monthly rent. But at least the men all love her, so her time was well spent. She may have lost her innocence, but the cash at least she kept. She had an accident or two, and she named them James and Maud. She used to walk them to their school, marching them across the fog. But they were taken away from her when she stopped being a mom. Now her children live a life with a family, food, and dog. She puts a quarter in a cup for every heart that she has broke. The change is piling by the thousands with every word she spoke to every jaded cafe patron who she views as some sick joke. She'll have $1 million mansion by the time she's done croaked. We used to call out to each other from our neighbor Sam's backyard, and although we shared our blood and love, she was always on her guard. But that's a habit that she'll kick when she's run it much too far. All the love that she prevented made my leaving so damn hard. I used to send her letters in the post, though the words were all the same. But she never read them because she was still so full of shame, stuffed on some narcotic to dull all the unendurable pain. The letters stayed stuck on the porch while her house leaks from the rain. And sometimes I could hear her voice cry out from the mountains to the wide open above, but her voice is cracked with all the past that will never, ever, ever learn enough. Haley, you made these choices on your own, but I know it can be rough when you're too kind to be intimate with and too distant to be loved. Thank you.
All right. Scores for Brayden. on the 3. 1, 2, 3, up and at me, please. I know, I'm sorry, that was a quick one. Judges, you've been great tonight. Let's try again, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3.
Boing.
Okay, I've got 7.7 and an 8.0
Higher.
and 8.1
Higher.
and 8.3 and an 8.8 for Brayden. Let him hear it. 24.4. All right, we've only got 2 poets left in this poetry slam. Okay, here we go.
Nationwide.
Last poet of the last round. All right. Everybody ready? Please welcome Phillip back.
Someday seems to slip away, like the memory of 35 perfect summer days. Someday. It's a phrase as comforting as the use of rhyme, as a means to convey in meter and time a message of when we will be together again. Someday. But these days I see the unstructured shards of a fractured dream. I remember the ink like a stain, black verse across those delicate rising ribs, tracing each of those letters with my fingertips. And as a new lover I inquired and reminded her reminder. She spoke of cover-up, cover art. She'd say someday, and I used to hold hope it would be today, because feelings and memories fade away, like dreams, youth, and yesterday. Fade away like the night she whispered to me, please stay. Fade away like the kiss we shared before my reply. I love you, but please come with me because you know I'm leaving anyway. Someday. And every day I hoped for soon, because each passing day was just an empty calendar space. Each space a void, devoid of the us, we, the you and me, and forever growing with the passing time. The distance between us has remained the same ever since I left that day, but she has continued to move farther away. And I've tried desperately to keep drifting continents together with nothing more than my scarred, calloused hands, shouting out of desperation my scarring, callous words. Today our belief is almost unspoken. Hesitation on her honey lips and the S slips, but with a sigh, and never has someday sounded more like goodbye. I can hear it in her voice from 2,954 miles away. Like yesterday, she stopped holding on to someday. But I still see those unstructured shards of a broken dream, that ink stain, and that black curse across her ribs, tracing letters, but not my fingertips. And I can hear her new lover inquire and remind her reminder. She'll speak of cover-up, of cover art.
Thank you, Phillip. All right. One more time, judges. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Up and at me, please. I'm doing a shitty job counting. I'm sorry. A, B, C. There we go. I got a 7.6. I've got an 8.2. An 8.6. An 8.7. And a 9.4 for Phillip. 25.5. All right, 1 second, and we will crown our winners for the evening with enough money to buy one of you a drink. Oh, no, we don't get to see the penny yet.
Ooh, just build anticipation.
We will be back next month and the month after that And the month after that, every second Saturday at Tsunami. We will not be hitting Valentine's Day this year, but it will be close. So if you need to come unburden yourself of some lust, love, hate, disgruntled poetry of your ever-expanding heart, please don't hesitate. Whether it's drippy or sappy, there's room for all of it. Okay! I know.
Frazzled.
Alrighty, here we go. Let's have some drum roll, please. In third place, can I please give it up for Jessie? Those of you who win tonight, please check in with me and make sure I have your email or some way to contact you about the finals in May. Okay, drum roll for second place. Please give some more love to Phillip. And in first place tonight, all the way down from Portland to break hearts and drip other things. Give it up for Rachel! So, quickly, I'd like to thank our live painter Lester, our amazing scorekeeper Prajna, Scott and the ladies here at the bookstore who make this thing happen, all of our judges tonight, our two fabulous features, and everyone who has participated in the audience. You guys make it happen. Let's do it again next month. I love you. Please bring back the scorecards and give yourselves one last round of applause for being here.